let's give that a shot this time.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. So I'm turning it over to Jennifer.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I see everybody's got themselves muted, so that is fine. And I'm going to say right with that, I know we all love the library, so thank you, Jenna, for putting on, and the library for putting on all of these programs. It's challenging to do this by Zoom, and if we were in person, the first thing I would say is, what the heck are all you doodlers doing at this doodling workshop? And I would ask who's an artist and what you're hoping to get out of this, and I would hope to get some laughing out of using the word doodling over and over and doodling again. But for this, I'm just going to chat a little bit about why we chose to do this program, and then we're going to get right to drawing. My goal, partly because when I draw, I get tired, I get a little quiet. My goal truly is to keep this to about 50 minutes. If we get to an hour, I'll give you some suggestions on how to finish. There is, again, like Jenna just said, there's going to be a recording, so you can always refer back. And by the way, I'm looking over at my corner because I'm looking at some of your faces. That's why I'm looking that way, just so you know. And I also, on my website, I'll give you a link so that you can pop on and refer to some of the things that we're doing. So I'm going to tell you again, a couple of you already went. You go to my website, froghappy.com. Under etc., there's a place called Workshops and Art Study. And then there's a picture, a black and white marker, Sharpie marker picture. You click on that and that'll take you to the workshop. I'm only going to have that up for a little while. I'll tell you why, because I'm referencing other people's artwork on there and I'm not giving their names. So that's really not something you're supposed to do. I have that link kind of hidden, so I'm only going to keep that up there for a little bit, just again, because I am referencing other art. Okay, with that, is my friend Jennifer on? Not yet. Okay. What's that?
I'm here.
Oh, somebody.
Oh, so if you hit it.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
We'll let Jane in.
Somebody. Oh, hi, Jane. We'll admit her.
So Jennifer, did you see, Jennifer,
Yeah.
I have your website up, but did you say you gave us another link?
You just go to the website, froghappy.com. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm just, no.
Okay.
Same link that I shared with you. Okay, so doodling. As a kid, my brain constantly going, and I wanted to learn how to doodle. I saw all these people around, we used to cover our books with that brown paper, and people were drawing all these crazy, fun, cool drawings. And the only thing I could think to do was write my name over and over and over again. And when I was done with that, I'd write all my friends' names. And when I was done with that, I would write every single boy's name I could think of that I had a crush on, and I'd write JS plus whoever. So that was kind of the extent of my doodling. I loved art class. And what happened this year is that I ended up doing a bunch of research on how to doodle. And I'm excited to share that with you. So I wish I'd had that when I was younger. Maybe it would have helped me quiet my brain. But here we are. So with that, my friend Jennifer is online. She's here from Washington, D.C. And I would just want to reference as well that she and I have been drawing daily 5 times a week for about 2 years. And because I started doing that with her, we would do a word a day, or we'd follow a program, a daily prompt. I started again about maybe 2.5 years ago. It helped me build my confidence for drawing. And over time, it has become a habit, drawing every day, and I love it. It's led me to doing a bunch of drawings for people. It's helped me in my painting. And ultimately, it helped me feel comfortable. I ended up illustrating a book last year. So that sort of daily drawing has opened a world for me. And I'm going to say that one of the main things helping me quiet my mind, giving me a habit. I'm not a very habit-oriented person. And then also growing my confidence. Last year, This is very different, by the way, than the kids program I just did. I would never share this, but on a personal note, my brain just goes and goes and goes. And I felt like many, I'm very lucky we didn't have anybody that we know was sick, but I felt kind of trapped in the house at different points. And so this sort of doodling, especially in the morning, really helped me kind of start my day. So with that, I ended up, like I said, researching all these different ways to doodle and specifically thoughtfully doodle. So doodling that has been more of a meditation. So that's hence the thoughtfully doodling. So we're going to do 5 things today. We're going to start with what I do for my personal warm-up, which is, I call it the frog happy practice. It's a left and right-handed warm-up. It's a very playful warm-up. So we're going to spend about 5-7 minutes on that. The next thing we're going to do, it's called neurographic art, which means the brain or neuros and the brain and images. It's kind of a scientific approach that was started or created back in, I think, 2015 by a Russian creative scientist. And I have to tell you, it makes me laugh every time I do it. It's just my thing. It makes me laugh and I love it. Very simple. We're only going to spend maybe, again, 5 to 10 minutes on that. The next one is Zentangles. I am not a certified Zentangler. There actually is something considered a certified Zentangler, but I'm going to give you, actually it's on that webpage, about how you can look into Zentangling. It's a whole art. It is really cool. I love it. And if you like what we do today, I suggest looking into it. And then we're going to do a very quick mandala study. I actually looked up the pronunciation of mandala. Mandala, and it's also mandala. So, but I call it a mandala. So the very last thing with that actually is everyone has a watercolor brush pen in their little kit. And I'm going to encourage you after this to sort of experiment with the watercolor brush pen. And we'll get to that at the very end. So in your package are 4 pieces of paper. And the reason I did 4 different pieces of paper is so that whenever I doodle, well, first of all, half the time there isn't any fancy paper around, or there's just a scrap piece of paper. So I'm trying to show you, it doesn't matter what you doodle on. The first piece we're going to doodle on for the warm up is this, hopefully you can see this. It's the sort of the brown, it's called sketch paper, or it's very similar to a scrap paper. So we're going to use this. Does everybody have this? Give me a quick yes. And I encourage you, you do not have to do this, but I encourage you, with the exception of one time, to use your Sharpie marker instead of using a pencil. So if you can go with that and sort of wrap your brain around the idea of using a pen and not feeling like you have to erase, I highly encourage you to do that. This is just for the fun of it. All this paper is recyclable. It can go right in the trash, or it can hang on your wall, either way. So start with your Sharpie marker, and we are going to go right to our warm up. So is anybody here a lefty? I think Diane's a lefty. Diane, are you lefty? Anybody a lefty? Ooh, so we're all righties. Okay. If anybody ends up joining, when I talk about lefty righty, I'm very heavy right-handed. So what I like to do is I like to warm up left-handed. It is there is no, what happens is there's no pressure to do anything. It's hilarious. It makes me laugh. And then when I get to my right hand, it's like, oh, I'm not so bad after all. So we're going to do a left-handed, right-handed practice. So Sharpie marker. This is the paper that we're using here. And I am kind of, here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw, you've got your paper horizontal. Just going to check the time here, 10:13. We're going to draw a line down the middle. And then you're gonna take your non-dominant left hand and you're gonna sign your name at the top of the left side. This is very hard for me to do in my angle, by the way, but you'll see I am not a left-handed drawer. And then you're gonna sign your name at the top of the right. So if you're not able to keep up with this, that is perfectly fine. You can always come back. The first thing we're gonna do is at the top of the left side, we're gonna warm up left, is draw 3 circles. And part of mindfully drawing is starting your circle and ending your circle in the same place. So feel your pen on your paper, try to start and finish your circle in the same place. So we're going lefty. Then we're gonna go 3 circles on the right side. And by the way, I'm a little nervous, so my hands are a little shaky, but I'm imagining by the end of this, especially when we do this neurographic thing, we'll all be laughing, hopefully. Okay, so back to the left hand. This is where some of my characters have come from. I'm gonna do 3 silly characters. And by the way, this is about as silly as we get in this hour or so that we're gonna spend together. I love doing these little glasses. This is where a lot of my characters have come from, is just this silly doodling and no pressure. I am referencing a couple of my drawings that I've done before, just because I'm not sure my head is gonna let me just be as creative as I want. But put his eyeballs up here. Let's give this guy some ears. And hopefully you guys are using your non-dominant hand. So we're gonna go to the right side and same thing. We'll get, I love this little girl that I make with her little straight crazy hair. She's a cutie. I might put little ruffles on her. We can do somebody a little more formal. Who does that remind you of? The typical cartoony librarian. Right, Jenna? Yes. She might have a little shirt on. I find that once I get to my left hand, I can draw my lines just go a little more straight. And then this always reminds me of my husband. I'll put some glasses on him. That's Chip. And we'll give him a big smile because he's a happy guy. And he loves to wear bow ties. So the first thing we did is we just did our left hand, no pressure. We practiced circles and you're getting used to using a marker. And the thing that doodling has allowed me to do, I've actually learned how to use wash doodling. I've learned how to use watercolor doodling. I've learned how to hold my pencil, my pens. I've learned the pencils and pens that I like. So that's what we just got out of that. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna draw 5 squares. And I have to tell you, I probably have 20 pages just like this. And my doodling has changed a little bit over time, but we're gonna draw 5 squares next to each other. Mine are not gonna be perfect. So clearly you're doing your straight lines now. I'm gonna go right to my right hand. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm probably making this a little more difficult for myself than I need to because this is gonna be a value scale. So this is a little bit of doodling with purpose. Actually, let's start right-handed because that's a little bit easier. So from left to right, I'm gonna make a value scale. And I'm gonna do that by cross-hatching. And my little lines are really nervous right now, but I love cross-hatching. And in drawing, we use value a lot. So to kind of I repeat this over and over and over all the time. Almost every time I draw, I do some sort of value scale. And you can see my really simple lines from left to right. The very last square is blank. So I have a full value scale going left to right.
I don't know what you mean.
So
I can't see what you're doing in the
you can't see
squares.
this?
I
So
can
I'm-
see it, but my eyesight isn't allowing me to see what the value squares are.
Okay. So I'm not sure how to explain it any differently other than I'm using cross hatching, which is lines going, crossing over each other, just straight lines.
That one I got.
And then I've got just a few less lines doing the exact same thing in the next
Oh.
square. In the next square, I've got even fewer lines. I'm actually drawing a little bit more lightly with my marker. So I'm experimenting with how I'm using my marker. And then the very last one, I'm leaving blank. So there are tons of ways to go from light to dark. So I'm going to challenge myself a little bit here. So I'm pressing pretty hard with my marker on my left side. I'm going to do little flowers and fill this in just for purposes of time. I'm not going to fill this one in all the way like I did the other, but that will be my darkest square with my little left-handed flowers. The next one will just have less.
Okay, so I missed this whole point. So what you're doing is going from dark to light, or dense,
Correct.
less dense to less dense. Oh,
Yes,
okay. I just have a
exactly.
different pattern in each box. I wasn't, okay.
You can do whatever you want as far as your pattern. So we're really just experimenting going from one box to the next. And it can be all sorts of different patterns, whatever sort of comes to you. And I may go back and sort of fill this in a little bit more if I want it to be a little bit darker, or just leave it. Okay, the very last one we're gonna do, just to kind of keep us moving, is probably the hardest, but it is for me the one that gets me really focused, especially left-handed, is we're gonna go left to right or right to left, it doesn't matter. We're gonna draw horizontal lines to start, maybe about 5 of them, and you are gonna try to keep as little space as possible in between those lines. So this is truly just a meditative, helping build a teeny bit of patience. What I do is I actually look at the space in between the lines and try to keep it as minimal as possible. I'm gonna do 5 of these. Jane and I have done this a bunch, right, Jane? And you can see my little left-handed squiggles. They are, they're all over the place. If I go to my right hand, I can do these pretty well. I'm shaky right now. They are definitely not as close. Wow, I'm really shaky. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my left hand. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double the space in between those lines. I'm gonna do about 3 of these. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to keep my lines as straight as possible, feeling my pen on the paper. I think I did 4. And then I'm gonna double the space again. And then I'm gonna double the space again. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the right side. Wow, I'm super shaky in my right hand for some reason. So I did about 5 lines as close as I could. My gosh, my left hand is actually stronger than my right hand today. Lots of bouncy lines. And then I'm gonna double, double, double. And then I'm gonna make it just a silly little drawing, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what we're practicing. So what we're doing here, and it's something that ends up being a part of drawing all the time, is we're practicing perspective. So if I draw my line here and here, I have some railroad tracks, or I might have a road that goes around over his face, over a hill. And you could do whatever you want with this. It really doesn't matter, but you're drawing your lines and you end up practicing a little perspective. So I might put some grass here. And this is not meant to be anything that is going to hang on a wall. This is truly a warm up. I love drawing little flowers. And then on this side, this is one of my favorite things to do on this side, is I'm gonna draw a little fishy with a little smiley face. And then I'm gonna draw a smaller fishy up here with a little smiley face. Well, he just has an eyeball. And when I do this with my students, my 9 and 8-year-old students, we try to get our fishies as small as possible. And by the way, I'm sticking with my left hand over here. And what you just did is you practiced some perspective. I'm gonna do a big fish right here. So sometimes I draw cats in there, sometimes I draw little faces, sometimes I make it look like a crowd. I don't know, whatever truly comes to your mind. This is just doodling. I see some very serious faces, but for me, it ends up making me laugh. I can't help it. So doodle away. I save all these because I end up, sometimes I might go back. I have a bunch of characters in one of my books that the book that I just illustrated. And I use this character with the straight hair quite a bit. She was a little bit more refined than this, but I do keep these. I think they're kind of fun. But that is our left-handed, right-handed frog happy practice warm up. And if you guys are ready, you can set that aside. You can hang it on your refrigerator. You can throw it in the trash, whichever you want to do. We're going to move on to our neurographic. Oh, hey, on this one, I have a bunch of little eggs. There's a lot of egg shapes in drawing, so I also practice a lot of eggs. Oh, you can see all this. This is just what we did here. Okay. Hopefully you got some smiles. We're gonna move on. Oh, here's another one. So these are the little egg guys I was talking about. I don't know. I think he's kind of cute. Okay. Some more little guys. I pretty much get some little cats in here. Okay, we're gonna move on to the neurographic art. So this is a sample of one of mine. There's a little mandala at the top there. So this is a sample of one of mine. This is copied from the internet. This is actually by the guy that created neurographic art back in, like I said, 2017. The idea is that you start with something that is bothering you. And I'm going to do this with you guys. You write it on the back of the piece of paper. You spend 3 seconds doing a scribble, and then we're going to work it out. And the idea is the more you create, you change your scribbles, the more your brain sort of opens up and sees things in a different way. I'm not, I'm not a scientist, though I play one on TV. But this is kind of a fun thing, and you can look it up, neurographic art, if you find it interesting. So this is another sample of one of mine.
Jennifer, would you say, are you saying neurographic or mirror?
Yes. Neuro, N-E-U-R-O. Yeah, the brain.
Yep.
So this first one is one that's colored in, and people who really love doing this, they'll end up coloring it in. I've left pretty much all mine blank, and they end up being about the same. but I'm gonna take you through how to do one of these. So. Okay, so we're gonna use our next piece of paper, which is just a regular piece of copy paper. And I would love it if you stick with your pen. You can go with your pencil, either way. I love sticking with a pen because there's really no, there's not gonna be any reason to erase anything here. Okay, so my word on the back is gonna be nervous. So there you have it. That's me being a little vulnerable. Somebody wondering how this is going. I have words often like frustrated, tired, overwhelmed. I guess those are probably the words that I start with. And I do not do this every day. I've done maybe 10 of these in the last 3 months. So I'm gonna start with nervous. We're gonna start by drawing a rectangle. And I'm gonna keep this one kind of small, just because, actually I can see my nervous through the back. I should have done it in pencil, but that's fine. I'm gonna keep this small just because it can take a long time for it to fill in. So for 3 seconds, I'm gonna think about the word nervous, and I'm just gonna scribble. And it doesn't matter where your line is. I'm actually surprised my line was a little bit smoother than I thought it was gonna be. So 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. If your line doesn't go to the edge, bring your line so that it follows up to the edge. I swear it's so interesting. My energy just automatically changes when I do this. And then we're gonna do, just for the purpose of keeping this really simple, we're gonna do maybe 3 or 4 lines connecting from sort of the walls. Oh, that's gonna be a lot of work right there. 3 or 4 lines starting on one side, going to another side. You can loop it around. You can do a little loopy-loop like this. And I think that's all I'm gonna do for this one. And then what we do, this is the opening up supposedly the way that your brain works. We're gonna fill in, and you can see on this one here, wherever the lines cross, we're gonna create these little intersections. Let's see what I'm gonna do. So that, gosh, some of my lines are crossing, but this is a little bit of a complicated one. I'm gonna start on the edge. So this line, I'm just gonna create a little area where it can go either way to the next line. You guys can just kind of watch what I'm doing. It is so interesting. My right hand is already loosened up. I'm going to show you these because these were so much easier for me for some reason. This was a really clear one. I ended up drawing a circle in this one. And there are a lot of circles that people use in neurographic art. All right, I'm going to start working on some of these. We're only going to spend about maybe, I want to make sure we get to the Zentangles, maybe about 3 minutes on this, 3 to 4 minutes. And by the way, I've been chatting a lot, but for me, this is exactly what happens. I get kind of quiet and settled. And I could end up spending $10 minutes doing this. It's usually more than 5. I'm gonna round out some of these corners. I have a lot of little corners in here. And sometimes I'll end up spending, I don't know, 20 minutes and just lose time. And I'm gonna say again, this is probably not something you're gonna hang on your refrigerator. I have saved a bunch of mine. This one up. And often what I'll do is I'll write notes. I think that's maybe why I've saved some of them. I might write some groceries that I need if my head starts wandering. I'm actually working on a commission painting for somebody, and I just started thinking about that. So I might write a note about that. And truly, there is no right or wrong to this. That's only been a minute or so. I'm going to do a little circle here. And I don't know about you guys, but I truly feel like my insides start to relax when I do this. And even though we are going to spend about an hour, we've actually already been a half an hour or so together. I would maybe do this again once a day. One of the things that we're doing for 10 minutes. That's actually about as long as I can concentrate. Sometimes I'll do that and then start working on something else creative. Sometimes I'll just move on with my day. And I'm going to say this one, I feel more settled. And I'm a nervous laugher, so I'm going to say I've got some laughter going on too. So actually, if you want to unmute yourself, does anybody have any questions on that one?
Yeah, so basically, you just, every place there's an intersection, you're really making it a node, right? I mean, is that's,
Is that what that's called? Yes.
I don't know.
No, that makes sense. I think I read that word someplace. So yeah,
Okay.
you're making
Okay, I
it.
wasn't sure at the beginning what, I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, me
But
neither.
I like the way it looks now, so.
So you can add circles to it. This is a time where if you really felt like you wanted to experiment with, you could be doing this on watercolor paper. You could experiment with watercolor, filling the spaces in. Like this one, I don't love the colors that this guy chose, but it's interesting. And if it's something you feel like doing, like I said, I taught myself how to use gouache last year. It's an art medium or painting medium. And I did that through doodling. I just kept using the paint and mixing the paint and adding it to some of my, strange things that I was doing. So you could take your brush pen and go back later and fill some of this in if you want. You can use some crayons, colored pencils, whatever. If you feel like sticking with it, then stick with it. If this is something that it might become interesting to you. And truly, you go to google.com, you go to Google and look up neurographic art, it will be everywhere and it might inspire you if you want to continue to do something like this. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. We have a Zentangler that signed up. Is our Zentangler on?
Connie, when you talked about it being quilted.
Connie. Do I see Connie? Oh, she was on
Scroll
before. Okay, you're still down here.
I'm here. No, I've
I
never done Zentangle before, but I am a quilter. And one of the reasons I took your class here was to learn a little bit more about Zentangle because they're using it not only for quilting, you know, the lines, but also for the piecing. So they're
Okay.
doing it 2 different ways.
Yeah, Zentangles have become really, again, there's a whole art to it. So I'm glad that you've had a connection with it. I'd love to see some of your things that you've done at some point, or some of the ones that you're attracted to, if you're interested in emailing.
I haven't done any Zentangle.
You haven't done any yourself?
personally. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
I'm just in the beginning thoughts of doing that.
okay. There are many different ways to Zentangle. And Zentangles to me are something that you can do and hang up on your refrigerator. They become really beautiful. So a couple started the Zentangling. One of them was an illustrator. She did botanical drawings. And at some point she started using pattern in her drawings, and she was doing lettering. And they came up with this process for Zentangling, which is something truly, like I said, when I was younger, if I had known how to do this and known how to use patterns, I think it's truly become something that you can do that feels good and is pretty, meditative, interesting, challenging. And again, you go to zentangle.com, you can get certified, you can take classes. And you look up Zentangle and go to images, you'll see tons and tons of interesting pattern work. So I'm going to show you some that I've learned. I'm going to keep it pretty basic for time. So we're about 10:40. We've got I really only want to spend about 10 minutes on this, so that we'll probably go to the top of the hour with the mandalas. So this is an official Zentangle. They're usually pretty small on a 3x3. This is the Zentangle Method. If you look it up, it's on a 3x3 tile. So they're pretty small, and they are based on patterns, repeating patterns. So actually, I'll show you this one here. So I think this one's really pretty. These are some of mine. Here, I'm going to zip through these pretty quickly. This is one I thought was kind of fun. This is one of mine. So I've completely gone out of the box on this. I just use Zentangle. I call it my Zentangling-ish work. Zentangling-ish. So this is one that I found on the internet. I just think it's so beautiful. So somebody used pattern, repeating pattern, and then clearly used a bird. Here's a turtle. And again, it's about the repeating patterns. So I'm going to show you the actual tiles and how I've learned to use the tiles for Zentangling, because there is a specific method. And you guys can either watch me or follow along. This is actually kind of more of a, you might just want to watch if you want. I'm going to use the nice thick paper on this, because you can go back later with your watercolor brush. I was experimenting with a couple watercolor brushes, and I just added some colors to some of my Zentangle-ish work. So you can always go back, and this paper holds it pretty well. Actually, this paper is a little bit different, but this thick paper I gave you, you can actually use your watercolor brush on it if you want to try it. Okay, so I'm going to draw. I'm using my marker, and I'm going to start with, there's going to be 6 tiles, and I'm actually going to tell you what the patterns are. Some of them that I've learned, and just the basic patterns. So I'm going to draw 6 squares on my paper. So if you can imagine, these are the 3x3 tiles. And there's, again, you look up zentangle.com, you can buy the paper, the 3x3 paper. It's really pretty paper. And when you have the 3x3 paper in your hand, you can move it around. It's really kind of an art. It's a really beautiful art, I think. Okay, so I've got 6 what I would consider squares for Zentangles. The first thing you do when you're creating a Zentangle is you create You do 4 dots. I'm actually gonna do all my dots here, just to get these going. And I'm gonna move through this pretty quickly. And there's a lot of stuff, like I said, on my website that'll show you how to do more of these. So these are called, and actually in the Zentangle method, you use a pencil and then you can go back and erase these marks. I'm gonna stick with my pen for this. You connect the dots. And these are called strings. And I actually think the less perfect they are, the prettier the pattern ends up being. So these are, I'm not really making perfect squares. And by the way, we would be doing one of these at a time. I just want to show you the 6 different ones. So I tend to be somebody who's pretty hard on myself with art. So the more I can kind of lighten up and do things and make mistakes and not really worry about it, the better for me. This is why I wore my frog happy sweater today. That's why I have a frog in the background. Just kind of helps lighten up, and there are no mistakes, truly. You can actually make a mistake in a repeating pattern and it often disappears without having to go back and erase it. I've done it so many times, truly, those mistakes disappear. Okay, so the first one is called, so what it's doing is it's giving you a structure, a composition, so that you can put your pattern into the composition. So the first one is a string, and it's a wavy string. The second one is a curved string. And there are so many. These are just a few that I've learned. The next one is a looping string. This one is called a bounce. This is an inside string. And then the last one is open. And if you look up Zentangles on Google, you'll find there's tons that are open. And actually, you start looking at them, you'll start to see the strings and how they're repeated and used repeatedly. Okay, so patterns. The first one is called kindred shapes. So this is a wavy. And this is a kindred shape. So the shape can be absolutely anything. I love doing kindred circles. And what I like about it is it starts to look like a patio with a bunch of little stones. I just think it's so pretty. And it's also, you can kind of fill it in with little guys, big guys. So you could do this with triangles. You can do this with squares. You can do it with, I don't know, spirals, rectangles, eggs, big circles, little circles. I love this little pattern. So you can see, I'm going to move on to the next one, but this is one of my wavy strings with kindred shapes. And so I've just created a pattern. Okay, the next one that I'm going to do is, I'm going to leave that like that, is called, so this is the curved string. And I'm going to do what's called an aura pattern. So an aura, and I'm going to use a square. An aura is something that just goes around and around and around. And there are so many ways to do this pattern. I'm going to keep this one really simple, but again, it's called an aura. I'm still bouncing around with my right hand. It's okay. And you can see this one is the aura, the squares there. So for a Zentangle, you can actually go in and finish the other side. I might do stripes in it. You can leave it blank. It really doesn't matter. It's just sort of what is inspiring you in the moment. I tend to do lots of little flowers, so I might put some flowers in here just for the fun of it. The most important thing for this is that it's considered a repeating pattern. Actually, there's really nothing important about this. It's just a repeating pattern. And I don't know, I'm gonna fill these little guys in, just because I feel like it. Okay, the next one is, so we're gonna go down to the bounce. The next pattern is called high contrast. So all that it is, actually, I'm gonna do the lines I just did in that other one, is where you have contrasting a dark and a light. And I'm gonna just show you this one instead of filling it in because it's gonna take a lot of time. So this is a high contrast pattern with lots of dark and light. And you can see on the other side of this one, I filled it in with flowers earlier. Okay, the next one. This is just the pattern. So this is the inside string, one that I'm working on. And these can go together however you want. And this is called an organic pattern. Wow, we're at 10:50 already. Okay. So an organic pattern is just what it is. So I'm gonna do one that I know that I like. It's sort of a leafy pattern growing into the tile. And what I'm gonna do is, actually that didn't quite, is I'm gonna skip the area, just like I wasn't filling in over here. I'm skipping this little square area to keep the composition. What are you doing over there, Jenna?
I'm just watching you.
Aw. So this is not completely making sense the way these are growing, but you can see it still kind of works. And there are so many organic patterns that you can use, Connie, in your quilts. So I might just fill this one in just to finish this pattern or Zentangle. With lines. And there's a little Zentangle pattern. Okay, the last one, or last two. This is actually my least favorite. It's called, well, this is the bounce here. And then this is open. The bounce, you can do this with any composition, but it's called juxtaposition. It's when you have two shapes that are sort of opposite, or they juxtapose, they contrast or sort of compete with each other. So again, I don't really like that. I like it when things work together more nicely. So I'm gonna do fill in some squares. And then my juxtaposing shape is gonna be like I can't think of the word, a lightning bolt. And I'm gonna literally just throw this in here. And I'm gonna go under or around the squares, although this wouldn't really matter. But I'm looking for fill in. So two contrasting, or like I said, shapes that don't fight each other. I don't like that. Boop, 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 boop. Bye-bye. I want to get to the next one. The next one is truly can be anything. And the last one is using the open, what was this? This is called a loop. In open space. And I tend to use this shape a lot. I just think it's pretty. And I got this from the mandalas. It's a tear shape. So this, anything goes. I have done this so many different ways, and I really never know. Hey, that's kind of pretty. There you go. I've never done that before. So this is just putting a pattern into an open square. That's so cool. I've never done that little pattern before. And I've used this teardrop shape tons. So these can be filled in the actual Zentangle method. By pencil. And if you look it up, they actually use graphite or pencil to shade and fill things in. So this is actually why I added the pencil into the package, because Zentangles use both markers and pencils. I kind of like that. I might go back and finish that one. So I had done something similar, but yesterday, but I like this one better. Pretty. So that is a little bit about the Zentangle method. Did anybody like that? Yeah,
It's
I
funny,
love it.
Jennifer, it's interesting. I used to do a lot of crewel work, and while I was working and sitting in meetings, I would do a lot of doodling, and it turns out it was Zentangling, which I had no idea, because I would do these sorts of things and a lot of it I got from the crewel patterns. Okay, like if you look at some of the Jacobean type style chair covers and stuff.
Oh,
A
interesting.
lot is like that. Yeah, I mean, I had never, yeah.
Well,
So-
you know what? It's probably been around forever, and then this couple kind of put it into something. So
Oh, yeah,
especially
yeah,
that-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
interesting.
that's the way everything goes.
Yeah. I know, and they're probably making money off of it. It's so unfair. They actually are, because they sell all the supplies on their website. Okay, so it's 5 of 11. We're gonna do one more, which is the mandala. And there is, again, a whole art to doing mandalas. And it's a Hindi tradition. Mandala actually means circle or sphere. And hopefully you guys are, most people are pretty aware of what these are or have seen them before. So this is when I got off the internet. This is actually hand drawn, and then I printed it off the internet. I think it's so pretty. There's tons of patterns and coloring, and the colors actually mean something. They're really, really beautiful. And I'm going to do a really small one to show you. I'm going to do it on the watercolor paper. I encourage you to maybe follow up with this when we're done, or do one tomorrow. And then even use if you have watercolors at home, or use your brush pen. So with the brush pen, I'll show you, you just literally use the marker side, either side. Actually, some of you guys only have one-sided, and you use a watercolor brush and you move the marker around. It's really, really pretty. So this is, okay, and I'm gonna tell you, when I do these, it always comes that I end up writing the word love. It always comes out of it. So with the Zentangles, I think they're beautiful. I just think they're really neat. I think they're cool. I love doing them. And the mandalas, they just bring out love in me. So this is one of mine. I didn't write anyone. And I love this little guy. I just think it's so pretty. There's truly an art to doing these where you measure out circles, you draw circles, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you draw the patterns within the circles. And again, you can look them up. I have a reference on my website. I did this one this morning. I use my brush pen a little bit on that.
I don't see anything.
This right here?
I don't see anything. I must have been kicked out.
Oh no. I see you.
Well, that's good, but I don't.
Yeah. Oh, Susie, I'm sorry. You can, if it doesn't pop back in, you can always go back and look at the recording.
Yes, I will.
Down
Yeah.
at the very, did you by mistake touch the stop video?
No,
No. Okay. I do that sometimes.
no. It has a read the report about Magic Quadrant for meeting solutions. So I think maybe we are.
So Susie, you're definitely gonna want to go back and watch the recording. Sorry
Okay.
about that, but I can see your pretty face, smiling face.
I enjoyed it, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you
Alrighty,
so
bye.
much.
Bye-bye.
I saw Christy just joined us, so we're at the very end. We're doing our very last piece.
Oh,
We're gonna use
okay.
our watercolor paper for this one, which is a square paper, and I'm actually gonna show you guys this. And again, like I said, I'm gonna do a really small one just to show you. This is called the mandala-ish Jennifer way. Because like I said, there is a whole art to this. And I buy this paper. I love these little packs of paper. I get them in Hobby Lobby. I don't know if you guys like Hobby Lobby. And often you can hit it and they're 50% off, like a lot of things at Hobby Lobby. So they're just little square piece of watercolor paper. And they're fairly affordable if you can get it, like I said, the 50%. And I feel kind of like the other paper, I feel a little more pressure to use this in a precious way. And that's kind of why I saved the best for last for me, the one that brings out the sort of the most, I don't know, love experience for me, if that's a way of putting it. And then you can go back and color this one in if you want, again, with your brush pen, with crayons, with watercolor, brushes, wash, acrylic, whatever inspires you. So I'm just going to show you briefly, if we were doing the art of a mandala, you would actually graph out circles, and you can follow my pencil. I'm not actually doing this on my paper, and then you graph it out into sections. I never do this. It takes too much planning for me. So what I do instead is I just start, and I've seen this on YouTube videos. A lot of people are doing these now, is I just start with something in the middle. I love my little flowers. And I'm going to just grow it out from the inside. And we talked a little bit earlier about using an aura shape. There's a lot of aura shapes in these little guys. And truly, I've never done one like this before. Actually, I'm gonna go all little gem circles around this one. Whatever inspires you. And I can already tell that my little circles, these little dots I'm doing, they're not evenly around. But I'm okay with that. I love this little teardrop shape that I use. And if you want, you can move your paper around. The idea is just to be relaxed. Ha, I'm gonna do some hearts. I'm really not a heart girl, but it just looked like some little hearts needed to be there. And already you can see that it's turning into something really pretty.
Is there any way you can get that closer to your camera or something? I can't see a thing that you're doing there. I see your hand, but I can't see the marks you're making.
There you go. And again, I've never done one like this before. I'm just kind of doing what comes to my mind. This little square paper is great because again, like I said, you can turn it around. And I can see that my little guy is already a little lopsided, but I don't know, I think he's pretty, or she. I'm gonna do some more hearts. I like it. And then last but not least, I'm gonna do this little teardrop shape again. And there you have it. So if I had maybe done one of these first thing this morning, actually I did do one this morning. This is the little guy I did this morning. This took me maybe, if I were counting, maybe 10 minutes. And it just, you know, like I've said this a few times already, I was nervous this morning and I just sort of felt relaxed. And I thought this workshop is just about sharing my experience, hopefully inspiring you guys to do something, showing my appreciation for the library. And so it just sort of gave me a sense of peace. Then I got nervous again, and then we did the neuro things, and then we did the Zentangles and all of that good stuff. So I hope, I'm gonna leave it with you guys with this. I hope you experiment with the brush pens. It's really, like I said, just use it as a marker. Take the watercolor brush that was in your packet and move it around. All you need is a cup of water. Pretty simple, just a little cup, use your brush. And I think we'll sort of leave it at that. Does anybody have any questions? Is anybody inspired to follow through with any of the things that we did? Okay, good. Thanks, Pat.
Jennifer, are the different, I get hooked up on details all the time. The little names that you said each one of these 6 squares were,
Yes.
I didn't get them all. Are they all on the website if we?
Yes,
Okay.
you'll see. And truly, Diane, there are so many of them. I just hit 6 that I thought were interesting. But
Yeah.
yes, the piece of paper that I was referencing when I was drawing mine, I think that's actually on there.
Okay.
So the ones that we did, you know, the aura, curved, the strings, the wavy. And there are YouTube videos online. When you look up Zentangles and how to do them, there's so much information and so many different patterns. But yes, that's on my website.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. Yeah. This was fun.
This is great. It's Linda, and I do have 2 questions.
Okay.
Or 1 question.
Oh.
In
This is
the
one
back,
of my brush pen drawings. Okay, go ahead. It was for my dad's birthday. Okay.
in the package is a brush
Yes.
and a brush pen. So when you said on the Mandela drawing to use the brush pen,
Yes.
I assume you meant the brush pen. So when do you use the paintbrush?
So, you know what, I'll show you really quickly. And if anybody wants to pop off, that's fine. Where's my brush pen? Here, I've actually got one right here. So what I would do, so some of you guys have, I know there was a hot pink one, there was a red one. I actually had a whole pack of brush pens and I did lettering with them. I've done drawings just like this with them. I'll show you this. these are not brush pen. But the idea that you would do with this, Linda, is this is my brush pen. This is the thin part of my pen. And if you have Linda, what color is yours? She's still there.
Just
Black.
Is it? Oh, you got a black one. Okay. So
Oh, my gray. Oh, it's
but that's
gray.
gray. Okay. So I'm gonna do, what else can I do here? So Linda, there is a whole spectrum of colors for brush pens and a whole art to just using brush pens. It's very similar, or it's, actually I was gonna say it's similar to watercolors because it's a water-based marker. And this is gonna be very light the way you see this. Oh, I think I have some green on my paper towels. My paper towels fell. So unlike the Sharpie, which is the permanent marker, the brush pens, they can be used in watercolor. You can buy them in packets with all the different colors.
So what was the water for? You had a cup of water.
So I'm using the paintbrush that was in your kit
Oh,
to move the, oh, I have another thing of water right here.
well, what are you using the water for?
I'm wetting my brush
Oh,
so that I can move the marker.
okay. Gotcha.
So one of the things I think is interesting or nice about what the library does is they're offering us a chance to try something new. And when Jen and I talked about that, I thought, well, I actually had tons of watercolor brush pens, and I thought, what a nice way to do it. Nice thing to do is to be able to share them with you. So I think I had 2 or 3 sets of brush pens, all sorts of different colors, and I just split them up and we put them in the bags for people to try.
Okay, so some of them come with 2 ends, you're saying?
Yes, is yours
Okay,
just the one?
yeah, okay.
What color do you have, Diane?
Magenta.
Oh, pretty, nice.
Yeah.
What's yours, Pat? I see you shaking your head.
Mine's green,
Oh, cool.
and this has been really super fun, and I can see it's super addicting. So
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
is addicting.
Yeah.
It can definitely be addicting. There's Connie. All right, does anybody else have any more or any other questions? Okay. Stephanie, it was nice to see your face.
This was awesome. Thanks.
Oh,
That's right. And I'm having fun over here.
oh, good, good. Jennifer, I love seeing your face as always.
As always. And thank you for this. So much I didn't even know about. This has been great.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to be a great way to start the day because like you said, sometimes I just get really locked up and think everything's got to be perfect. And
Yep.
so this takes a lot of the pressure off. So thank you.
It does. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I've been told that it would be really super beneficial if I meditated. Yeah, that's not happening. I can't sit still. So this provides a sort of a meditation for me in a different
Yeah.
way. All right. Well, thank you again to Jenna. Thank you guys for joining. Go to my website, the workshop spot, if you want to look at some more things. And that's it.
Thank you. And I
Yeah.
loved the left-handed thing. That was great,
Oh,
doing the
good.
left hand. Yeah.
Isn't that fun? No pressure.
Yes. It's very humbling.
Yeah, it is humbling. That's a great way of looking at it. No pressure. Yep. And then you get to your right hand and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Good. Good. Oh, I'm glad. All right. I'm going to sign everybody off. Thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jennifer.
How do we do this?